Cool. Okay. So the thing is red now, so we are all good. Okay. So a couple things. I need you guys to be really honest here. How many of you guys have an actual vision for your business? Like you know exactly what you're doing, what you want to build. Raise your hands. Okay. So write this down. I need to know where I'm going. And like actually know what kind of business you're building. Okay? So one of the big changes for me 6 years ago, I actually got fired from my job. So this is very candid. I got fired from my job. When you get fired from your job, you leave without a database, you leave without a pipeline, you leave without anything. So what's awesome about that is you can come from scratch and you can really decide what kind of business you're building. So at that moment in time, I knew that I cared about a couple of things, right? I really care about customer service. And not just like closing on time, but like really educating my clients on the actual process of buying and improving their lives, right? So this has been a vision of mine forever. I also knew I wanted to be in the top 0.5% of all loan originators in the country because I was a little bit salty from getting burned, and I wanted to make sure that those people who fired me regretted it every day that I've been gone. Okay? Let me tell you, they definitely regretted it every day since I've been gone. So I knew that I needed to get to a point where I was going to close over 500 transactions a year so I could make this silly little guide, like notable list on the Scotsman's Guide, right? So I knew great customer service, more than 500 units. Okay? So I had a purpose for my business, and I also had an amount that I was going to sell. So take a few seconds and write down, you need to know what kind of business you're building and what kind of value you are providing, okay? So when I said I want to teach people and educate them on the process, I'm building an educational business, and my product is mortgages, okay? And my set focus, my target number, okay, was more than 500 units. Okay, does that all make sense? Okay, now just take whatever minutes, write down the first couple things that come to your mind. Know that you're going to revisit this later. Okay, now I want you to figure out how much net take-home income, right? So this is the money after expenses, after taxes, that you want to make. Here's a couple of things that you'll need, right, to know that number. One, you need to know your average transaction size, the actual amount of net commission that you receive, right? So after team splits, after the My Home Group fees, after marketing fees, whatever you pay, right? And you need to understand, right? So average price point, average commission, and then how many actual deals did you close this year? Okay. So most people, when they talk about their plans, they go, I want to sell 100 homes. They have no reason why. Okay, they just 100 sounds good to them. And they say they want to make $100,000, right? That's everyone's first goal, right? Everyone wants to make the 6 figures. Okay, here's what's good about that, right? Something feels good about it, it emotionally charges something, but unless you understand the fundamentals, like does your actual production warrant a pathway to get to that goal, right? You won't hit it, okay? So how many of you guys have business planned in the past? Should be like all of you, right? If you're in real estate, okay. Did it look like this? Like a list of how many transactions and a goal number for income? Okay, keep your hands up if it did. Okay. Now, did you factor, keep your hands up if you kept a budget. Okay. If you factored in your tax rate. Okay, if you factored in your marketing expenses. Okay. All right, so we got like 2 people in the room. Okay, so a couple things, write down your tax rate. Okay, write down marketing expenses. Write down administrative expenses, okay? Now, some of you are going, I don't have any expenses, okay? Your gas is an expense, insurance is an expense. Anytime you gift somebody, it's an expense, right? Your cell phone is an expense, right? You have more expenses than you give yourself credit for, okay? If you got to step number 4, let me tell you, you're like in the 90th percentile of people who actually plan for their business, okay? So there is a tracking sheet that I want you guys to download on this website. It's my business tracking metric sheet, right? And it has everything that you need to pay attention to, right? It says your simple business spreadsheet. Just go scroll to the bottom, download it. Literally put your name in and it emails it to you directly. So here's what this will have, right? It has all the components to understanding metrics, okay? So metrics, right, it's the math behind the secret formula, right? You want to get to 100,000, this will tell you how if you know your metrics. So it'll have, find out your buyers, right? Are you a buyer or a listing agent, right? Are you both, okay? It'll tell you to find out what type of properties you're selling, right? So you'll look at, is it condos, single family homes, right? Is it manufactured homes? It'll ask you location, okay? It'll talk about your sales price, your commission, right? Because these are data. And then it's going to ask you some additional items. So it's going to ask you your referral source, and we're going to really dig into that because people are confused about referral sources. And then it's going to ask you about the activity that generated the lead. And this is where you're going to really have to think, because that is the secret metric that most people forget about. It's like, how did this lead and I really come into contact? Okay? So it's going to give you the fundamentals, and here's what you're going to do once you have filled this out. It'll take you about 2 hours, depending on how organized you are, or like 2 days. Okay? So you're going to look for trends. So you're going to start grouping things. Okay? And what normally happens is that people get confused because you are willing to sell anything. How many of you guys are willing to sell like any property that comes? Okay, good. You should be, especially if you're not having your best year ever. You should be like, yes, I'm going to sell that home. Or at least get a referral fee. Okay? Right? So everybody is willing to sell, right? But we don't sell to everyone no matter how hard we try. Okay? So when I looked at my numbers, I was like, all right, I sell to first-time home buyers buying under $300,000, and they're buying mainly single-family homes with minimum down. Okay? These are my peeps. Okay? So when it comes to a business plan, do you think I'm going to start marketing or connecting with people that are like investors from California? No, because that would be the opposite of what my business plan says. Now, if an investor from California came to me and said, Lizzie, do you want to do my mortgage? I would say yes. Okay, but if I'm going to be the most strategic about my time, my marketing, my ad spends, 100% in my area focus. Okay, does this make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, you cannot do a business plan, this is my honest opinion, without the metrics, without the numbers. Okay, otherwise you're just leading blind, you're just hammering out, it's basically like throwing shit on the wall. Okay, and whatever stuff is like, oh, okay. Right? Who wants to run their business like that? Great! This is exciting! Okay, we're all on the same page. Okay, so we talked a little bit about business vision, right? About going to that next place, right? Really understanding like what we're doing. Okay, so that business spreadsheet is going to tell you your target demographic. Why do you guys think that we have to have a target demographic or a target area? Guess. You look like you have an answer.
No, I don't have an answer.
Well, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Well, for better success, what was the question?
Well, we have a target demo.
Oh, so...
You're a millennial. It was a target demo. He's already giving like...
That means more success for you if you know what works for you.
Okay, so you can cater your marketing activities to your target demographic, and you can also cater your prospecting activities to your target demographic, right? So when it comes to the business vision, right, most of you guys in real estate are going to have some sort of educational platform, okay? Right? Some of you will do transactional work, right, because you like doing a lot of ads online, okay, that has some sort of element of education, okay? So knowing your target market, actually, the best way to market is to actually provide value to those people. So we're going to take mine, and then I want for you guys to come up with a list of ideas for how you could actually provide value to these people, okay? So remember, my peeps were 300,000 and below, and they're first-time home buyers. Okay, and they are buying with minimum down. Mostly single family. Okay? Alright, what do you think these people have in terms of problems?
Credit.
So credit. Okay, so let's see. We're gonna go over here. So they have credit as a problem. Okay, what else? Down payment. Okay, we're gonna talk about money. Okay, what else?
Education.
Let's elaborate on that. What specifically with education?
The buying process, because they've never
Process.
done it before.
What was yours?
Just like financial IQ in general.
Okay. Right, so let's go off of these four. How could you provide value? Right? How could you solve their problems?
Credit repair. Info.
So credit repair, okay, so we could offer credit repair info, okay, and or partner, okay. What was yours?
I was gonna say that.
Okay, what else?
Down payment assistance.
Okay, down payment assistance, so that's DPA, okay. I'm also a millennial.
There we are.
Okay. What else?
Education,
What do you mean?
like just kind of having like information for them to look at. So like something they may like, even with like a lower financial IQ, you might have some resources and information that kind of help them learn more.
So I'm gonna keep asking you. So like, how would that be? Like, in what form?
So I don't know. I ran into my own though.
It's okay. Where do you find your information on things you're looking for?
Well, it's always online, YouTube.
So let's say YouTube, so video.
There you go.
Okay. What else, guys? Where do you find your info?
Google.
Google. So you're okay. So Google. Where else?
Well, ideally your agent, call them. I mean, I would like to be a resource.
Well, they're first-time home buyers, so they don't have an agent,
Oh, okay.
typically.
So actually, more than 70% of them will end up with their parents' referral. Just to be honest, but they don't really like. They don't. If they found somebody they liked better, right? Like an expert opinion, right? So, but where would you go to find your information aside from your expert?
Oh.
Google.
So Google, but what are you looking on Google? So you Google it. What are you reading on Google? So Google doesn't like shout out answers to you. You know that, right? What is Google? Guys, it's a list of web pages and articles and PDFs and images, right? Right, so we have infographics. We have blogs. We have newsletters. Right? We have websites. Okay? Does that all make sense? Okay. So knowing your target demographic allows for you, right, to understand what their problems are, right? And then also allows you to figure out how you would solve their problem through education, right? So here's the other thing, right? So if I really dissected this one more level, because I did, okay, the majority of my relationships came from realtor, online, which is like social media, okay? And most of my clients are in this age of 25 to 40, okay? Which makes them millennials and this thing called Xennials, which are like the people that act like Gen Xers but are technically millennials, right? It's an actual thing, you should look it up. Because they communicate in a way that's really important for you to know, okay? So knowing this, where do you think the best way to communicate with this group is?
Facebook, target marketing, 25 to 40.
Social media, okay, right? So, all right, so you said social media, so I'm just gonna circle that one. Where else? By the way, that says social media. I'm a terrible like speller and or writer. Okay, so what else? So social media is one. What else? Most of you are millennials in this room. Just shout stuff. How do you get your info? You said YouTube.
Video.
Okay, video.
Text message.
Google, Instagram, nobody's saying it, and I know that I have all, my kids are millennials and they are all.
Insta, text. Here's the thing about text message, guys. There's laws against texting people that that don't ask you to be texted. It's called a TCPA law. Now, you really have to piss off the wrong person to have them complain, but just an FYI. I just feel obligated to tell you that. Okay? So here's what's great, right? So depending on how you feel this person communicates, where do you communicate? Okay? So you just have to pay attention to this, right? Because this is how you create a plan. Okay? So every single business, you'll find a couple of different trends, right? In terms of demographic, in terms of, what type of property. I've done this activity for a bunch of different agents, and you will come up with a variety of different things. Like one agent I did was first-time home buyers. They're all male buying condos in Scottsdale. Okay? Again, you have to write a list. What are those people looking for? What are their biggest problems? Where are those people found, right? Who works with those people, right? What type of occupation do they have? We're really trying to get the nitty-gritty here, right? So are you going to start marketing all of these things, about single-family residences in Glendale to people who are buying $300,000 luxury condos in Scottsdale? No. And you want to also pay attention to how those people grow up, right? Because those single bachelors eventually get married, right? And then this will end up changing, okay? This is why it's always important to do the numbers every single year, okay? All right. So now that we're beyond, understanding the reason why you have a demo, understanding what value proposition you provide, how you're going to market it, I want to talk about referral sources. So does anyone see the eraser anywhere?
Can I take a picture of that?
Yeah.
Yes, take a picture of this. This is the worst. Can we also buy an eraser? We're going to buy dry erase markers, and then we're going to buy an eraser for this place. I think I'm the only one that still teaches old school. Okay. All right. So the next thing I want us to focus on, guys, and this is on page 3, it's right here. You're also going to see trends, okay, in the type of referral sources. Can you give my Vanna? Will you erase this? Because you're the best. This is Sammy, you guys. I can't live without her. We all give her a round of applause real quick. You're the bomb. Okay. So here's the deal, right? So now we know our demographic. Now we need to figure out who is sending us this business and where is it coming from, okay? So there's the source of the referral, okay? This gets really confusing for people, and I really want to nail this one concept in, and then we're going to go through all the rest, okay? Your database, okay, is a place where you collect information. So it's name, number, email addresses, okay? That's your database, okay? It does not bring you leads. Like when you type in somebody's information into your database, they don't automatically know that they need to send you referrals, yes or no?
Correct.
Okay. So it is not a source of your business ever. Does that make sense? Because there's lots of people who coach you on business, and it's like the activity that you do with your database that actually generates the business. Okay? Now, sphere of influence. Okay? That only counts as people that you know and actually maintain a relationship with. So if you knew the dude 20 years ago from high school and he reached out to you on Facebook, he's not your SOI. He is a Facebook lead. Because the only reason that he reached out to you in the first place is because you're marketing real estate on Facebook. Okay? You have to get so real with these numbers, otherwise your plan is crap. Okay? Right? It's only as good as you pay attention to. So sphere of influence, guys, your real friends and your real family. Okay? Does that make sense? Now, I did not mention past clients or current clients, because guess what? Those are your actual clients. They belong in a different category, also in your database. Does that make sense? Okay? Cool. Now, the one missing metric, right? I want you guys to circle this like hardcore, this whole activity that generated the lead, okay? If you go back in that spreadsheet, what you will find is, right, you may or may not remember, but you can typically go back in your text messages or your email or your Facebook threads. And if it was them reaching out to you, okay, you have to realize that's a thing of either somebody referred them to you, okay, or your marketing is working, okay? If you did not reach out to them, okay, it's marketing or referral. Does that make sense? If you reached out to them, it's prospecting. Does that make sense? Cool. So we always want to track inbound calls, right? So if it was an inbound call, right, we have to then take it further. Was it marketing? Was it my Facebook marketing? Was it my newsletter? Was it my video? What brought them here? Okay? Was it a referral partner, which is the other thing, because you always want to pay attention to who are advocates for your business. Okay? If you can nail this down, you will actually know what your pillars of business are. Okay? People get confused and they sort them by the source of the referral. So they're like, oh cool, I sat an open house, or oh cool, I posted on my database, right? So they have all these generic things. Okay? So you may have done an open house, right, which is where you met the client, but maybe it was 6 months of receiving your newsletter that actually converted them. Okay, so the open house is not alone, right? So if you just did the open house, would they have called you 6 months later? Honestly, it's a coin toss if they would have called you, right? It's both, right? So when you do that again, we're gonna look for trends and we're gonna figure out your pillars of business, okay? Here's how pillars of business work and how they should work the longer you're in business, okay? So your number one pillar, you will have about 3, okay? This is not in the book, so you'll have to write it down. So your number one pillar of business, guys, will make up anywhere between 51 to 70% of your business, okay? It shouldn't be 100. If it's 100, we have to diversify, okay? But it should make up the largest percentage of your closings. Now, when you do this at first, you may see that you have 2 primary sources of business, okay? That is not a sign of a healthy business, okay? And it's good that you have multiple sources, but it's not healthy, okay? So I just want you to know that that will change over time as you delegate more of your attention towards your primary, okay? Then you will have a secondary source of business. It makes up, 30% to 49% of your business, okay? And then you will have what's called a supplemental source of business, okay? And this is going to be the random deals that you get. This is always the one that like blows your mind. This is the one that derails all of your marketing, okay? Because you one time sold a house to an ex-coworker of like a friend of a cousin, and you're like, oh my God, I'm amazing at like social media, right? They like love my stuff so much that I sold it like 3 downs down, right? And you get confused because it was fun and marketing is super sexy and fun, right? And then you think that that's a something that you should focus your attention on, okay? How I've had my best year ever is that I always lean in to number one source of business, 100%. I look at what my marketing process was, what my prospecting process was, what skills or tools I need to enhance those systems. Okay, I keep my best activity. I dump my worst one 100% of the time, even if I like it a lot. Like I can tell you how many times I dumped something that I was like so into, right? Because it didn't yield the results. Okay? And I always add something to improve the best things by 30%. Okay? So let me repeat this recipe. I lean in to what's working in my primary source. Okay? I stop the lowest ROI activity. So that's return on investment. So it's time, money, whatever. Then I add to the one that is resulting the highest ROI, right, by 30%. So you have to think about it, right? So for instance, I'm going to give you an example, right? My business is highly educational for first-time homebuyers, okay? And it started with educating my number one referral source, which was real estate agents, on the market, on the economy, right, on how to talk to their clients. That's how it started. I have a newsletter that I've sent out forever that educates agents on what to say to their clients. Okay? Then, after that was very successful for me, I translated one for home buyers, right? Because my second source is like my database, and I primarily engage with them on social media. Okay? So I created this newsletter to my clients. Then the next year it evolved into this thing called Money Tip Monday, which you can all find on YouTube, right? So I'm doing educational videos, teaching people financial literacy, and then home buying steps. Okay? Then I started a podcast, right? To then explain more market stuff and answer home buying questions through podcast. Okay? Then I've taken more of this stuff to Instagram now, to other platforms like LinkedIn. Do you see how this grows over time? Right? But every time I'm looking to improve on it. Okay? Does that all make sense? Do you guys have questions on that?
What were the things that you dumped?
Oh God. I dumped a lot of online lead gen. I dumped this thing called Think Tank Mastermind that I started online for real estate agents. It was like, I tried to launch it like 3 different times, poured my blood, sweat, and tears into the darn thing. I could grow the group to like 300 people, and I could never get them to engage. It still bugs me. It still bugs me. So that was one. I used to do this thing called Think Tank Thursdays, where I invited a whole bunch of random people to my office for a mastermind. Right? So not everything works.
Yeah.
You know, I am this year, just so you know, going to relaunch this money class, right? But I'm targeting it a little bit differently. I love teaching about money and finance, but I've never brought a whole bunch of people in a group. Now that I have this YouTube channel, I think that I'll be able to attract more people. And I have an idea of reaching out to like a furniture store, a moving company, a security company, and then doing a home buyer event where they can get discounts of like up to $5,000 to $10,000, right? To then really enhance that, right? Because my peeps have no money, right? Right. So there's those things, but right, I've tried it before, had to dump it. Now I'm going to retry it now that I have some better strategies. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. That's a really great question. I've also dumped a bunch of online lead spend on like websites. I did this whole thing like Sync Lender Pro for like a year. It cost me a ton of money. Nothing. Okay. So, all right. Okay, so does that all make sense? Okay, because we're going to go deep diving into your database. Okay? So here's the truth, guys. As much as online platforms are super sexy and we want to get deals from people we don't know because it's uncomfortable to sell to people we do know, yes or no? Let's get honest. Right? So you may not have a problem, which I love, but most of us feel pretty uncomfortable going like, I'm a realtor all the time to our friends and family. Okay, so one thing is when you provide value, right, you're actually helping people and you're talking to them about different things. Okay? Now, in everybody's database, the longer you're in business, your database and your past clients should make up somewhere around 60% of your closings. If it doesn't, right, you have a business issue called client retention. Okay, it is very, very important to pay attention to this because if you want longevity, if you want stability, if you don't want to have to be reinventing the wheel all the time, retaining your current fan base, client base is super essential. Okay, so in a database, people qualify under certain things and you have to market to them differently. Okay. In that spreadsheet, you will see that in your inbound calls, there were referral partners. Okay. And those referral partners are advocates or raving fans of you and your business. Okay? They're the people, so if you mentioned the word home loan, right, like yesterday on the My Home Group agent forum or whatever, there was somebody who's like, who's the best land loan officer? Okay, let me tell you, I don't do land. But my name was mentioned like 3 times. Okay, those are raving fans. Okay, someone mentions the need for a home loan, right, and I don't even do that thing, right, but they're going to refer me. You mentioned anything about house. Oh my God, I got a girl for you. You mentioned anything about money. Oh my God, you have to watch this YouTube video. Right? Those are your raving fans. Okay? Now, the next thing is what's called a promoter. They're very, very similar to a raving fan. The difference here is that you actually, like a promoter has to know that there's a need. It could be in a general forum. It could be, they overhear people talking about it, right? But they just have to know that somebody needs it, right? A raving fan just shoving your info everywhere, right? So a promoter will see, again, like the agent forum thing, right? And they'll see who is a great loan officer, right? Like, I don't do land money, right? So that had something to do with houses. This is specifically about loans, right? That person would refer. Okay? Do you see how it's just a fine difference? Okay? You want a lot of promoters and raving fans in your business, at least 25. Write that down. Okay. All right, now, this is the scariest number, but also my favorite number. The majority of the world is passive. In fact, 60% of people will do business with the person that gets them to the next step the quickest. How frustrating is that? Like, seriously, you meet them at an open house, you love them, they said they're gonna go think about it, and then they talk to somebody else who has a stronger opinion and is like, no, you're using Tia Marta. Like, that's it. Like, that's who you're using for as your realtor, right? Because you didn't close the loop. Now, here's the thing, right? If you had gotten them to the next step, right? If you had said, hey, the next step is, and booked an appointment, those people are too nervous about disappointing you that you have a higher chance of them either moving forward or ghosting you, okay? Those are the two outcomes. But if you get them to the next step, you're that much closer to selling them, okay? Now, if you have a database that's constantly reaffirming of raving fans and promoters, and you have events, right, that keeps these people in line. Okay, if you have a newsletter that constantly drips on them, or an item of value that constantly drips on them, you're always in front, present mind, they won't forget you. But 60% of the population needs that, right? This is why when they say that there's statistics about after like 3 years somebody buys a home, they can't remember their realtor's name, that's why. Because they're not relationship people, right? They're the, okay, you helped me, you saw me the next step. Okay, this is what's great about sales. You can pretty much sell to 60% of the population just by telling them, here's what's next. That's awesome. Okay, as somebody who likes to cold call, that makes me very excited. As a marketer, it makes me pissed off, right? Because it's frustrating. But, so just know that in your mind, write that down. Okay, 60% will just do what's next by the person who told them first. Now, the last one is equally as important as your raving fans. Okay? These are the people you pissed off. These are the detractors. Okay? Let me tell you about detractors. They hear the word home loan and they're like, hell no, don't go with blah, blah, blah. You're not even talking about that person. They're just like up in your face, right? You've met those people. Here is why it's so important. There are some of you who are like, screw those people, I'm never going to work with them again. It is so important to neutralize a detractor in your database. Okay? It is so much more important to just make them happy than anything else because they can kill your credibility. Let me tell you, a passive person gets with a detractor, you've lost. Okay? A promoter gets with a detractor, they're not a promoter anymore. Right? A raving fan will have your back all the way. But let me tell you, like, enough detractors that get with your raving fan, they're not raving fans. Okay? They lose their confidence. Okay? So it is so important. Are you going to make everyone happy? No. Okay? So one thing that I have done in my business, and I swear to God, this is something that has, like, differentiated me from, like, every loan officer out there, is I have an active marketing campaign called I'm Sorry. Okay? Every time we screw up, I apologize. I send, a small gift, right? Sometimes a big gift, right? But I send a gift, and then that person stays on my I'm Sorry program for a year. Okay? 1 year. What's awesome about detractors is that if you make it right by them, guess what category they move to?
Raving fan.
Raving fan. Okay? I will give you an example of this. Yesterday, I got 2 leads from a detractor from 2 years ago. Okay? I was having some technology issues at my last company, which I no longer have. And we were experiencing some growing pains with her home loan, right? I apologized, I made it right, I did everything. 2 years she's been on my birthday program where she gets cupcakes, she gets my newsletters, I followed up with her. So here's what my I'm sorry program looks like. So they instantly get a card, a small gift, right? 30 days afterwards, I follow up with them on the item that we had, right? And tell them, give them a progress report. Then 6 months later, I thank them again for having that initial feedback conversation with me and then what we've done even better to improve on it. Then they get the birthday cupcakes, right? Then a year afterwards, I thank them again for being such a valuable part of my business, for helping me really make my business better. And then again, I just add them to my VIP program, right? So 1 year they get status updates on the item that we talked about, but then a year later, they're still on my birthday program. I got 2 referrals from this person, her mom and herself, as a repeat client. Does that work? Right? Like, I can tell you there's so many sales professionals that just go screw them and they move on. That's one way to do it, for sure, right? But I definitely think that it pays so much more money to just make people happy, right? Like, I believe firmly that you can be right or you can get paid. Okay? I like the getting paid part and the being, a resource for people part. I don't need to be right. Because guess what, guys? The truth is subjective, right? It is subjective. Like, you have your own truth, but so do they. Okay? So just know that, right? No one's right. Ever. Right? The only exactness you ever want is in science and in your doctor. Like, I want them to be exact. Like, if I'm getting surgery, they better, there is no gray area. Okay? Cool. Does that all make sense? Is that helpful?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now, I'm not going to go too much into this because I want to talk about actual prospecting activities. Okay? But this is all of the stuff that you have to be aware of in terms of budgeting for your business. Okay? These are actual business terms that impact your profitability. Okay? I'm going to teach a very detailed profitability class later on. I just want to give you the fundamentals. This will get us sideways right now, okay? But I want you to know the difference between sales revenue and net profit margin, okay? Like, there's the money that we bring in, that total gross commission. I can tell you, I talked to hundreds of agents. They all think that that's their income. It hurts my heart, guys, for real. Like, that's not your income, that's your revenue, okay? And then they have no idea what the cost to acquire a client is. Like, no clients are free, okay? Like, my database, that birthday program, the 33 times I emailed them a year, the phone calls, you guys, nothing is for free, okay? Even your time, right? One thing I want you guys to pay attention to is write down the annual income that you made last year divided by 2,080. That's your hourly rate. So write down that formula. Okay. 2,080. That's a full-time work week. We all know you guys work more than full-time. But we're just going to go with we work full-time. Okay? All right. The other thing you have to calculate, guys, is your sales growing? Is your business actually growing? So here's one thing that I also get told by people, especially top producers, and this just annoys me, okay? They're like, I made more money. I'm like, awesome. You know how you make more money?
Spend more money.
Well, that too, that also bugs me, but that's not the thing that bugs me currently. So you can make more money by increasing your average sales price. But if you did less units, your business went down. Okay? It just did. If you're not closing more every year, there's a problem in your business. Okay? And some of you are like, well, I strategically did that. Okay, maybe, right? Maybe. It's doubtful, right? People are always confused because they made more money, but if you close less deals, it's a negative sign for your business. Okay? Then you need to figure out, of the leads that you're getting every single month, right, how many of them are qualified, right? You have to compare that to your hourly rate, okay? One of the hardest things I gave up was that Sync Lender Pro. It brought me 60 deals, like 60 leads, every week. I was like, that's 60 leads and I'm a cold caller, I'm gonna kill this. Okay, I just didn't have enough time to pay the thing to incubate the leads for the 2 years that it takes, blah, 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 right? So here's the deal, it wasn't worth my time, I wasn't converting, it wasn't worth the money, right? So just because it brought me the most leads, right? Because conceptually we're like the most leads, most money, right? It's not true, okay? So everything that you want to figure out, guys, is here are the metrics, right, for conversion. Super important if you're going to have your best year ever, okay? So it's the number of leads you get. You need to then figure out, of the leads you got, this is in the book, how many of those leads picked up the phone, okay? It's called your lead to contact, okay? If you start that, most people never pay attention to that number, okay? But lead to contact is actually one of the fundamentals to conversion. Okay, if they don't pick up the phone, you can't convert them, no matter how many times you text them and email them and call them. Okay? All right, then there's the lead to agreement. Okay, if you're new to real estate, write down this. For every 10 people that you speak to, expect to get 7 no's. 7 no's off the bat. Okay? 3 of the remaining people will say maybe. Okay? And only 1 out of the 3 does business with you. Okay? So just know it's 1 in 10. Then you need to know your lead to close. Okay? This one matters the most in profitability. Okay? If they don't close, if you don't get paid, it's not a good lead source. Okay? I don't care how many people are in your pipeline, if they never close, it's a bad lead source. Okay? Like here's a good example. I have a lead source where I'm qualifying a whole bunch of people at 160. Okay? I'm qualifying them, but they're not closing. You know why? Because the average sales price here is now $256 or $258 or whatever it is. Okay? Is that a good lead source for me? No, because they're not closing. Okay? All right, then you also have to figure out how many of them were non-responsive. One thing I want you to pay attention to is what's your long-term follow-up plan look like? Okay? I now, because I email these people all kinds of things, I'm converting non-responsive leads from 3 years ago. I just never get rid of them because they never asked me to get rid of them. And now I'm refinancing them. I didn't do their purchase, but I'm getting them the refi. Right? You know why? Because they're 60% of the population and I stayed in contact with them the longest. It's crazy. Okay? And then how many of them you lost? Okay? And why did you lose them? Okay? This is going to be your fallout rate. You need to know this for projections. Okay? It is also an annoying pain point for people like, I close everything I put under contract. Yeah, exactly, I roll too, but in my head, right? They tell me that and I'm like, it's not possible. And if it is possible, you maybe closed 1 deal, right? It's not possible. You have a fallout rate. People change their minds, the market changes, people don't qualify, people, you know, they die, you know. Knock on wood, they don't here. Okay? Right? And people who like go on hold, right? Again, a long-term follow-up strategy for your on-hold people or the people who don't exactly qualify. Okay? So, things you have to pay attention to. Long-term follow-up, guys, 100%. What are you long-term following up on all of your categories? And then ways to improve, okay? So ways to improve are typically skill-based, okay? So if you're getting a lot of lead to contacts but you're not closing, work on your scripts. Okay? If you're not getting enough lead to contact, up your dials. Okay? If you're not getting enough leads to close, it's probably scripts or lead source. Okay? If you have a big fallout rate, you need to work on your if this then that. Right? You have to hold the deal together. That is what you are paid for. Right? Holding the deal together. Be a better problem solver. Okay? You have to look at these metrics and think about how you can improve on them. Okay? Does that all make sense? Okay, so I really want you to dig in on profitability and I want you to dig in on the quality of your leads. Okay? Alright. Now I want to get into prospecting really quick because that for me is like the most important thing. Okay? So, this is not in your book. This was, she wanted to know about it, and I think it's really important that we talk about it, okay? So, prospecting, guys. Prospecting is calling, physically calling. It's doing what's called a milk route, which is physically visiting people or calling with a purpose, okay? It's pop-bys, where you drop off a gift, right? It's face-to-face conversations. It's belly-to-belly dinners, coffees, right? Anything that involves you physically doing something, okay? Now, you physically write an email, and you physically write a personal note, and you physically write a newsletter, but let me tell you, there's no physical contact, okay? So anything that involves communication without physical or verbal contact qualifies as marketing, okay? Are we all correct? Okay? So here's my personal recipe for literally knocking it out of the park with prospecting, okay? I make 10 milk route conversations a day. Okay, so for me, that's either I'm calling with a purpose, so I'm calling about a new program change, I'm calling about interest rates, I'm calling about whatever I can think of that will provide value to the person I'm calling. But I'm calling with an intention, right? This is circle prospecting for you guys. Today, this is a leveraged event, so as many face-to-face conversations as I have with individuals in this office, they all qualify as a milk route, okay, because I'm out and about with a purpose, okay? Then it's 5 great conversations, right, out of those 10 that result in a meeting, a new business opportunity, or a lead. Okay, I need 5 of those every day. Then I make 5 birthday calls. Okay, I get the list from Facebook. I call people on their birthdays, and I ask them this: hey, how's the family? Well, first of all, I say happy birthday. Okay, start with that. Okay, and then I ask them about their families, and I ask them, you know, their big plans for the year, vacations, recreation, like what are they doing nowadays? I ask them how their job is going, right? And if there's anything big that they want to accomplish this year on their birthday, right? Like I'm going to be 30.
Ford?
Ford, frog, however you want it, but it's easiest done on a birthday. Okay? Is there anything that I can do to help them accomplish their big dream? Like this year I'm turning 37. And I want to be more physically fit than I've ever been in my life, right? This is a goal I'm working on every day. I tell you, follow my Instagram journey. But like this is my big goal, right? So if I said that to somebody, right, and they sent me things that were related to my biggest goal of the year, let me tell you, that deepens a relationship, right? That makes me want to go and help them, right? So 5 birthday conversations, okay?
Can you repeat number 5?
It's 5 great conversations that lead in a lead, a business opportunity, or meeting. Okay. And then 5 birthday conversations. Okay. What my big goal is to get 5 follow-up items, right, where I'm going to provide value to any of those 10 milk routes or those 5 conversations or my 5 birthdays. Right? I want to be able to call people again. Like that's the intention of delivering value. Okay, you don't deliver value and then never speak to them again. You deliver value and then you follow up and then continue to deposit more value, right? This is how you become a pillar in somebody's life. This is what converts people from a promoter to a raving fan, from a passive person to a promoter to a raving fan, okay? Because you make a difference in their life, okay? Now, easy ways to get that all done, because it's a lot, right? It's like, God, it's like 60 conversations a week. It's like 30 face-to-faces. I mean, it's a lot, right? I am out there prospecting my butt off, okay? So I host a lot of leveraged events, okay? I make it a point to write a newsletter that I can call people about, okay? I'm very strategic with the friends that I put on Facebook, right? So my profile is open so anyone can follow and get all the information from my page, but my friends, I want it to be a reminder for my database, okay? Right, so I'm very strategic, so all of those things help. Not to mention, I have a tracking.
Do you have a separate business Facebook page, or do you carry it all through your personal?
I have both. So you have to have a business page to run ads, and I do most all of my prospecting through my personal page. Okay, that's a really great thing. And then I have a tracking sheet, guys, so that I can stay on top of my prospecting. Like if you don't track your prospecting, You have no idea how many phone calls or how many face-to-faces it takes to generate the leads that you need to have to generate the closings you need. Okay? This was part of the math in that book. Okay? It's the math in the book. Okay? So that's what I do. If you need help on scripts, Grant Cardone has a bunch of really good ones on YouTube. Mike Ferry has a bunch of great ones on YouTube, right? Like there's a ton of realtors sharing their information. It's on YouTube. I have some too that if you want, I'll link you to our private group that I train my team on, okay? Right, but that's how you improve your scripting, okay? There's a ton of online courses, again, by all of those people. Improve your scripting, okay? Did that answer your question about prospecting?
Yes, thank you.
Cool. Now, ideas for marketing, okay? I love a good YouTube channel, okay? So YouTube takes a while. Just straight up, it takes a while. It took me 23 videos, right, to generate my first lead that I never met before, okay? But let me tell you about this lead. This lead never spoke to me, applied on my website, talked to my team, turned in all of his documents, and then I talked to him, right, in his honor call and in his CD call. Okay, he gave me a huge glowing review on social media, talked about how awesome my team was, and he barely interacted with me. Okay, because I provided him with so much value before he got to me, right? He was sold on my team, he didn't need a consultation, he closed, did my process, and felt so loved and so happy. Okay, that's the power of YouTube when you provide value. Okay, 23 videos before I got my first lead. Okay, it took me 9 months before I got 1,000 subscribers. Okay, and once I got 1,000 subscribers, I really started seeing leads. Okay, and it grows from there because now I ended the year at like 1,300. I'm almost at 1,400, and we're 2.5 weeks into January. Okay, so it's just going to grow from there, right? But once I hit 1,000 subscribers, I started generating my own leads. Okay, Facebook, guys. Again, I do a lot of Facebook messaging. I do a lot of Facebook posting. Here's what I will tell you. People love when you share value and then also when you're vulnerable. Okay? Here's the trick about being vulnerable when it comes to social media. Okay? You have to be vulnerable, right? Sharing pain, but you also have to be competent. Okay? I have seen people who overshare. And you're like,
TMI.
They basically go into a very personal thing that happened to them, and they completely disqualify themselves as a professional. Okay? Like, oh my God, I got super wasted last week and got a DUI. I'm never going to do that again. And it's just like, damn. You're like, or they talk about some really personal stuff between their cheating spouse, or just it's tough, right? But you can be vulnerable and completely disqualify yourself. But if you're not vulnerable enough, people don't trust you. Right? So here's the thing. I always talk about learning lessons, right? So I got fired from my job. This is how I learned the power of vulnerability, okay? And it's also called the letter of the heart. You can mail this, email this. I like to post them on social media. I like to mail them out once a year, okay? So I got fired from my job and had no database at all. I had no pipeline. So the only way for me to build this quickly was I got my cell phone out and I added every single person as a friend, okay? Then I wrote an email and a letter, right, that I sent out to everyone, and I said, hey guys, I just got fired from my job. It turns out that somebody who's extremely passionate about customer service can also be known as a work terrorist, right? I made fun of the situation, right, that I was overbearing to my staff, and then I got fired from my job. Here's what I learned from that experience. 1, people who are happy will take the best care of my clients. 2, I have to really dig in and become a better leader. And 3, I never want to let down the people I care about most ever again. And so I'm very humbled, I'm very embarrassed, but let me tell you, I'm working on all this stuff. I enrolled in this Delivering Happiness course. I read the book. I'm very committed to this. My new mantra is passion changes everything. And I promise you, if you give me a second chance, I will never let you down again. Okay? I wrote the whole thing out. Let me tell you, the highest number of deals I ever closed prior to that was 23. The month I got fired, I closed 19, then 27, and then I have never closed less than that. like ever again. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, that's how powerful it is, right? And then I got to follow up on it. I'm like, guys, let me tell you, this is what we've done together. God, because it's not me. I mean, this is the community of people that backs me up. Monday, I posted another one. I'm like, hey guys, you know, success is these things, this things. But really, it's about the people who support you. Let me tell you what we did together this year. Right? We donated $40,000 to charity. We helped 980 families. Right? We did this together. It's because you believed in me and this dream of really providing X, Y, and Z. Right? That we were able to we're changing the industry. Right? So the power of marketing and a letter of the heart is that you get the people who are most important to you to care about your why. Right? But it definitely is through sharing pain. But you don't want to make yourself sound really incredible, right? Now, if I had taken that same example and told people that I got fired and talked about how political it was and how my boss was an asshole and I was so unjustly fired, do you think people would have had the same reaction? No. Is it still vulnerable? Is it embarrassing? Does it disqualify me as a professional? Yes, 100%. But I took ownership, talked about my learning lessons, left my drama as my drama, not their drama. Right, and gave them a cause, right, to rally behind me. Everybody loves an underdog. Like, everybody wants to help you, legitimately. They don't like the show me the money people. So if you're going, look at me, I just sold this, I just did that, how does that even provide them value, and why would they want to help you? In fact, you don't need their help.
Right.
You're already a baller. You know? Like, I never do that kind of stuff. Like, you'll never see that on my page, ever. And if I ever talk about success, it's our success. Okay? So does that help you with some marketing ideas? Right? You can sign up for my newsletter, right, which is a good marketing idea. You can do the Money Tip Mondays, right? All right, is there any dying questions before we wrap up? Okay, cool. So I'm going to ask you one question, okay? If you got value from this class, I need you to raise your hand. Okay, cool. So I am not a professional speaker. Okay, I am a hungry loan officer who is dying to make a difference in your business. So if I brought you value today, I hope that you'll trust my team with a referral. Okay, so thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate you guys for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys. So was it good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yay. Hope you're not saying that. You guys all got quiet at the end. I was like, oh.
You know I am.
Good. Hey guys, there's so much more stuff in this booklet if you read it and really follow all the steps. You can do this and then get your business tracker. Okay? Yes.